like the river. I've been running ever since. It's been a long, long time coming, but I know change gonna come. Oh, yes it is. It's been too hard living, but I'm afraid to die. I don't know what's up there beyond the sky. It's been a long, long time coming, but I know change gonna come. Oh, yes it will. I go to the movies and then I go downtown. Somebody keep telling me, don't you hang around. It's been a long, long time coming, but I know change gonna come. Oh, yes it will. Then I go to my brother. I said, brother, can you help me please? But he winds up knocking me back down on my knees. Oh, there've been times that I thought I couldn't last for long. Now I think I'm able to carry on. It's been a long, long, long time coming, but I know change gonna come. Oh, yes it will. Oh, yes it will.
To the spirit of those ancestors who dreamed, who fought, and even died for liberation, we offer this libation. We offer this praise to all of those who came before us and stand beside us in these pandemic times, and who will lead us through the darkness into the light. To all of those ancestors, we say Ashe. Everyone say Ashe. Everyone say Ashe. Everyone say Ashe. Everyone say Ashe. Unmute yourselves. Unmute yourselves. Ashe.
I begin our time together today by acknowledging the indigenous people of the Medicine Creek Treaty, whose land was stolen and on which the college stands. I would like to acknowledge the Squaxin people, who are the traditional custodians of the land where the Olympia campus stands, and the Puyallup people, who are the traditional custodians where the Tacoma campus stands, and pay respect to elders past and present of them and all indigenous peoples of our region. I also extend that respect to other Native people present. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Georgina Holland Posey of the class of 2020, who will lead us in the Black National Anthem. Lift every voice and sing.
Lift every voice and sing till earth and heaven rings. Ring with the harmonies of liberty. Let our rejoicing rise high as the listening skies. let it resound loud as the rolling sea. Sing a song full of the faith that the dark past has taught us. Sing a song full of the hope that the present has brought us. Face the rising sun above your day has begun. Let us march on till victory is won.
So welcome everyone, and welcome to Evergreen State College's commemoration of Juneteenth. It's a time where we focus on liberation and justice in our country and community in a celebratory way. However, right now, many people don't feel like celebrating. It looks like the vast majority of our country has begun to realize that our country has a serious problem with race, and that this problem has been with us for a very long time. This problem has resonated in our country since America's original sin of 1619, when the first Africans were unloaded and sold as chattel in what would become the United States. The reverberations of this problem has caused social and economic disparities since its inception. It's allowed people to be cruel and inhuman under the veil of the law. And even as our society has evolved, many facets of this problem haven't kept up. And in the wake of all of that, Black and brown people have been and continue to be subject to discrimination, murder done in the name of police and or vigilante action, unequal justice, and a correction system that does little to correct another systemic oppression. How are we all dealing with this? Well, many say it is what it is. At least they did. Over the past weeks, people have taken to the streets again, demanding an answer to why does it have to be this way? Or they're genuinely asking, how did we get here? And as I reflect on it now, you almost never hear me say, me personally, you almost never hear me say, it is what it is. In 1997, when I started a scholarship program for students around Martin Luther King Day, I discovered a quote that I use in my email signature. Many of you may have seen it, read it, and even reflected on it. My email signature is written as Dr. King said it in 1964 when receiving the Nobel Peace Prize. Paraphrasing it for now, it says, I refuse to accept the idea that the isness of humankind's present nature makes us morally incapable of reaching up for the eternal oughtness that forever confronts us. In essence, where we are as a people right now, where we are as a nation right now, where we are as a world right now, he refused to accept that it is what it is. Instead, we should be asking questions like, how ought it be? And how do we make it like it ought to be? And how do I help others see these problems? And how do I be part of the solution? So thank you, folks, for bearing with me as I share these thoughts with you. I hope it frames that in this commemoration of Juneteenth, we don't mean to be cavalier or to ignore what's happening in the world. The plans for the program began before the global pandemic, before the economy recessed, and before these latest deaths again forced us to question why is it as it is. But now I invite you to dial in for this block of time and reflect on some victories in our African American community. Marvel in the creativity and work of our students, faculty, and staff here at Evergreen. If anything positive has come out of this whole COVID-19 thing, it's that it's created new opportunities for collaboration here at Evergreen. And as such, the students at both Olympia and Tacoma campuses can engage in this commemoration together despite the miles in between us. I don't want to move away from the idea that we should talk a little about the history of Juneteenth. So just quickly on that history before we move on to our first PSA. The Emancipation Proclamation went into effect ending slavery in the United States of America. 2.5 years later, Union forces landed in Galveston, Texas, informing slaveholders in Texas, the last holdout slave state, that slavery had been outlawed. That date, June 19th, was the first Juneteenth. To share a little bit more history about Juneteenth, I wanted to talk a little bit about Reverend Jack Yates. Just to, not for anything other than the fact that he saw a vision for Juneteenth, that there was something that should be celebrated. And to give you a background on him, he was a slave, had been emancipated, later became a minister, and became the minister of Antioch Baptist Church in Houston, Texas. His church, along with Trinity Methodist Episcopal Church, formed the Colored People's Festival and Emancipation Park Association. And by 1872, they had pooled enough money to acquire a 10-acre field to use as home for their annual Juneteenth celebration. And they named it Emancipation Park. It has a storied history, including the fact that in the early 20th century, when segregation ran rampant across the country, Emancipation Park served as the only municipal park that African Americans could use in the city of Houston. And that park is still there today. A fitting tribute. It went through extensive renovation in 2017 and is quoted by the Houston Department of Parks. I thought this was pretty cool to read, and this is where I'll end it. Set aside to commemorate the events of the 19th century, Emancipation Park continues to serve its neighborhood today. It stands as a monument to the pride and hope that the founding members of the Colored People's Festival and Emancipation Park Association felt as they stood with their backs to slavery and their faces turned to the future. So as we observe Juneteenth on the last day of the 10th week of class, we do this to honor the accomplishments of our community and recognize the contributions of our own African American members within Evergreen. And switching gears, we present to you the first of our 3 introductions from local restaurants.
Welcome, everyone. Welcome to Evergreen State's second annual Juneteenth celebration. Although today will mark the second time that Evergreen State has come together to recognize and celebrate this momentous occasion, with dedication and perseverance and a little prayer, it surely will not be the last. Today, we celebrate freedom. Freedom defined as the power or right to act, speak, or think as one wants without hindrance or restraint. Today we come together to celebrate this freedom as we still fight to achieve it. A fight amplified by great Black leaders like the great Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., Rosa Parks, and countless other great African American heroes, paving the way with their tireless steps towards equality. Education is defined as the process of facilitating learning or the acquisition of knowledge, skills, values, beliefs, and habits. As we come together to celebrate freedom, we also like to honor education. For education is the vehicle for which true freedom is reached. In that, I would like to honor one driving force in the Evergreen community who is truly a patriot to both freedom and education. Dr. Thomas Les Peirce. Dr. Peirce was born November 13, 1946. He earned his BA in psychology, followed by an MA in education and educational doctorate in counselor education in 1975. He also completed Harvard University's Institute for Education Management and did additional graduate work at Washington State University in clinical psychology. Dr. Peirce became the first African-American president of the Evergreen State College. He was also Pocatello's first Black mayor. With that, he was also Idaho's first elected Black official. His effectiveness as a civic leader earned him a position in Governor John Evans' administration in 1977 as director of Idaho's Department of Administration, and then the Department of Health and Welfare. In the corporate world, Dr. Peirce was Chief Accounting Officer of Power Engineering Incorporated, a successful electrical engineering company in Hailey, Idaho, between 1983 and 1985. During his career, Dr. Peirce received numerous honors and awards. In 2009, for his leadership in education, the University of North Carolina at Asheville presented him with an honorary Doctorate of Humane Letters degree just before he gave a commencement speech. Dr. Peirce devoted his life to better himself, and in doing so strengthened the very communities that he served. Education has truly given him the freedom to make change where change was necessary. Education has given him a platform. Education has made him a beacon. Education has made him a shining example of what we can aspire to. And in that, education gives us the clarity in which to continue to achieve true freedom. Thank you.
That was Ray Mobley, who was a graduate of the class of 2015. So thank you, Ray. And one of the things that we do as a tradition, as we started last year, is that we're going to honor our elders, and we're going to highlight at least one of them. And for this year, it was Dr. Peirce. So thank you very much for that. And now we're going to turn gears and look at ancestral artworks with Dr. Joy Hardiman. Dr. Joy Hardiman has a long and storied career with Evergreen, starting as a faculty in 1976, filled several posts, both academic as well as staff, and recently retired, is now, and one of her hallmarks, I should say her legacy hallmarks, was that she was the executive director of the Evergreen State College program. So with that, I turn it over to Joy Hardiman.
The following presentation was presented on April 3rd, 2019 at the University of Mississippi's Center for the Study of Southern Culture. And I wanted to share it with you today because it suggests, I think, some needed strategies for being indigestible when one is in the belly of the racial pandemic beast. So, a soul comes home to her Mississippi roots. Okay, I do this tray. Okay, all right, good, yay. All right. My given name is Wintonette Joyce Hardiman. I am the daughter of Winton Joy Hardiman and Thelma Ayers Hardiman. Now, my name is part of a Southern tradition. It is typical in the South that if you want to name a girl after their father, you add a net to it. Hence, you get Wintonette, Antoinette, Tonette. And so my mother named me in that tradition. She also, because she was so deeply in love with my father, decided to have me take his middle name of Joy, but she added a C-E onto it. So I was christened Wintonette Joyce Hardiman. But I reclaimed my identity when I went off to college, and I dropped the CE because I looked in an etymological dictionary, and Joyce was etymologically meant horse. And I wasn't really into, at that time, I had kind of buck teeth and I was tall and ganky. So I didn't want to be walking around with the label of horse. So I went back and adopted my father's middle name, Joy, which turns out to be quite amazing because as I've done research, I found out that I am fourth generation Joy. That my father's middle name was Joy, his father's middle name was Joy, and his father who was born in slavery, his middle name was Joy. So my parents were children of Mississippi parents who had moved out of the South during the Great Migration. My images of the South were for the most part, after having grown up in Buffalo, New York, my images of the South were really based on media. They were based on Gone with the Wind, Walt Disney, and stories overheard from people who left the South and never wanted to go back. I hated the images of buckwheat and Topsy and Uncle Remus when I was growing up. I grew up right at the end of segregation, and so their childlike behaviors and their perceived subsequent attitudes, subservient attitudes, made me feel ashamed and embarrassed. It was not until much later that I realized that Uncle Remus really was a cultural custodian, that he was the one that kept all the stories and all the folklore. But because I was ashamed of the people, I was ashamed of the folklore. And so I was distant by the master narrative from accessing the treasures that he had to bring me. I also learned much later that Topsy, who I hated because she always said, "Ooh, I was born in a cabbage patch," was not in fact born in a cabbage patch, but in fact was a enslaved person whose parents and grandparents, etc., had been stolen from Africa and stolen from a very, very rich tradition that had nothing to do with cabbage patches. For 2 weeks every summer, my parents loaded the car, got an AAA triptych, lots of maps, and the Green Book to go on family vacations. My job was the map reader, and my parents were so determined to make sure that I was exposed to a larger world that by the time I was 13, we had been to 48 states, all of the Canadian provinces, including Newfoundland, Mexico, and Cuba. And at that time, I thought all families traveled with picnic baskets in their car, stayed in national parks because they were open and they weren't segregated, and went to the bathroom in Maxwell House coffee cups that you kept on the back seat and emptied when it was dark so nobody could see you, so nobody could hurt you. My parents were readers, and so there were lots of books around the house and magazines, etc. They subscribed to the Black press, to the Pittsburgh Courier, the Baltimore African American, the Chicago Defender, Ebony, and Jet. And I was a ferocious reader, so I read them all and was terrified by what I saw with the inhumanity of white people and their children. The image of Emmett Till in Jet magazine was so traumatizing that I made a vow never to let white people know how smart I was so they wouldn't kill me. I remember at that point, I started dropping my eyes when I passed white people so that no random whiteness would think I was uppity. When the voter registration drive started in 1964, I wanted to drop out of college and join the Mississippi Summer. I had worked with my parents in voter registration and political campaigns for people in my community, and I collected money for UNICEF at Halloween. So I wanted to be a part of the civil rights movement. But even though my father was the president of the local NAACP, this was not an option. My parents wanted me to be safe, so I stayed up north. I stayed in college. I joined the counterculture and the anti-war movement. I majored in classical Western literature and 16th century Italian comedy, the 16th century Commedia dell'arte. I spent a summer in Woodstock as a mime, married and divorced a very nice Jewish man, ran 2 theater companies, and then began what turned out to be a 40-year career in higher education. When I realized that I had become physically, intellectually, emotionally, and spiritually disconnected from my roots, my community, and my Blackness, I decided I had to reprogram myself. I had to detox myself. So I went into isolation, I researched, I studied, I got a doctorate in ancient Egyptian literary stories. I designed an urban campus based on the Temple Library University complexes of ancient Egypt, the Tacoma campus, and made a commitment to the liberating arts and to an African worldview. I discovered that it was okay to be Black and brilliant. That was and that being Black and brilliant was my birthright and my global legacy. So I replaced lies with truths. I faced my addictions to the illusionary notion that I might have some power and privilege and position. And the closer I stood to white people, I got rid of some baggage and decided that it was time to claim my roots and my truths. It was time to liberate my soul. So I spent the last 40 years doing ancestral and ancestral African and diasporic research. I traveled around the world. I went to, Egypt, Ethiopia, Kenya, Uganda, South Africa, Senegal, Mali, Ghana, the Ivory Coast, Gambia, Cameroon, Spain, Russia, England, India, Brazil, Ecuador, Trinidad, Jamaica, Mexico, looking for the truth, looking for images, positive images of African people. And I saw them everywhere. I saw them not only in the building of civilization, but I saw them in the fight for liberty and liberation over and over and over again. And so as I travel this world, I also have the blessings of being able to design curriculums and creative productions based on that research. But after a little while, I decided that it was time to come home. It was time to not just look at my African roots or my diasporic roots, but to look at my family roots, to look at my Southern roots, to reclaim all that of which I had been ashamed. So 2 years ago, my daughter and I finally went to Mississippi to uncover and discover our African American roots. And I found out a whole bunch of things. First of all, I found out I didn't know a whole bunch about geography. Because I always thought the Mississippi Delta was down there someplace next to New Orleans, but it wasn't. The Mississippi Delta was a plain, an alluvial plain created by the flooding of the Mississippi River and the Yahoo River, and that it contains some of the most fertile soil in the world, just like the Nile. The next lesson I learned was about how deep my Mississippi roots were. I found out that on both sides of my family, both my father's family and my mother's family had deep Mississippi roots. And that my maternal grandfather, and that's his picture, was born in Coldwater, Mississippi, as was his father and his father before him. And I found this to be interesting. My grandfather's name was Winton, but his brother's name was Hercules, and his sister's name was Cleopatra. Even back in those days, our ancestors knew the power of language and the power of imaging, so they didn't call their kids Topsy. They called their kids Cleopatra. They called their kids Hercules. They called their kids Oprah to basically give them a destination to grow into. Going back to my Mississippi roots, I got a chance to be informed about what really happened to those people who participated in the Great Migration, those people who were looking for economic liberation, were people who were looking for social liberation, those people who were looking for physical health liberation from disease, those people who moved north. And so my grandfather was part of that movement, and he moved to St. Louis, Missouri. He worked in as a trolley coupler, the people who put the trolley cars together, and he was, and then he went from working on the trolley cars to working as a Pullman porter, and he became one of those large groups of very strong, industrious, hardworking Black men who all were called George. By the people who rode the cars, and who just looked at them as objects meant for their service. After he did the Pullman porter thing, he became a minister in the AME church and died with his own church. I really kind of like him because I think that we have these images of people who are fighters and stuff like that, have no senses of humor or no senses of fun. Well, what he did was he promised his new wife, he had a second wife, that he would give her an 8-room house. That's how he got her to marry him. So she married him and she waited for the house. And what he did, because he had just gotten off the trolley car people, he bought 8 trolley cars, put them in circles. All right, put it in a circle and put electricity in them and put plumbing in them, and then built a little garden in the middle of them with a chicken coop for chickens so that his wife could have fresh eggs in the morning. And when people talk about about these people as having no imagination, totally content with their lives as enslaved people, they were so lying, so lying, so lying. I found out that all Blacks were not slaves or sharecroppers, that they were hardworking, industrious, and God-fearing, that they were farmers, store owners, as well as teachers and preachers. And this is my great aunt graduating from college in the 1930s. I found out that not all Blacks lived in the rural southern plantations, that there were towns, that there were actual towns created for, by, and run by freed Black people. And the freed Black people, when they would get land, they would not only just buy stuff for themselves, but they would do things for the community. So in these all Black towns, there would be schools, there would be hospitals, there would be healthcare facilities. And so these were people who got their strength not relying on the goodwill of allies, but who basically took control over their own destinies and moved forward and created towns that still remain. I found out that African cultural retentions were alive and well in Mississippi when I was in Clarksdale, and I ran into this Senegalese musician who played me a blues song that was based that he played me the Senegalese song, the song in Senegalese, and then he gave the translation of the song as it exists now in the blues, showing that the circle can never be unbroken, showing that the culture will always be maintained, maybe changed, but maintained. It was an important lesson. And second to lastly, right? I got a chance to see resistance to the single story. And this has been doing, but in the work of both Black and white and brown people in Mississippi. They are coming together to retell the story, to tell the story in a different way. And so these plaques now are all around the campus of the University of Mississippi because the Black Student Union insisted that they tell the truth, and there were some good faculty and some good community members that work with them. So we have here a statue that celebrates the Confederacy, but right next to it is a statue that says, The Confederacy was built on the lives of over 1 million Black people. And so this is a symbol, yes, to them, but it's also a statement that the defeat of the Confederacy meant the freedom of Black people. And all through the campus, you can see it. There'll be a building that'll say, this building was built in 1890. And then there'll be a sign next to it that says, and it was built by Black people, men, women, and children who were skilled laborers. People forget that. You can't make a brick unless you've got skill. It's a long, long, patient process. And they were the bricklayers, and the signs there say it. So history is being reclaimed. History is being, the truth is moving to the front. And lastly, I got a chance to pay homage to one of my heroes, Fannie Lou Hamer. Fannie Hamer, who said that they were sick, that she and others were sick and tired of being sick and tired, and they fought back, and they fought back, and they fought back. And so I not only got a chance to see her, but I went to the home of Ida B. Wells, a champion of the anti-lynching movement, and I told her thank you. And then I went to see Bessie Smith, and to the hotel where she had died because she had been denied medical treatment. And I told her that we would try to do better, and that we were doing better. And in conclusion, what I want to say is I want to give thanks to everybody out there who has striven to put truth in the place of falsehood, who has fought to put right in the place of wrong, who have worked to put illumination in the place of ignorance. All power to you. All power to you. Understand that the research and study and finding one's roots is essential if you want to stay indigestible when you're in the belly of the beast. Embrace your root, embrace your truths, and don't get trapped in somebody else's single story. Ashe.
Thank you. Give Dr. Harmon a round of applause. This that we have at the Tacoma campus, where it's called Give Backs. We have 249 people here right now. And
How
so,
many?
yes, 249 people. Thank you.
Hey, people. Look at you all. I can see some of you. Oh,
Look at us teaching.
Hey, Keisha.
Hey, Larry. Oh, all these people I can see. Hi.
So Dr. Hartman just gave, and this is called Give Back. And what we want to do, we want to give back to Dr. Hartman. We want you to don't be conscious of of your time of speaking, but tell Dr. Hartman a short thank you or what you got from this, from her ancestral art presentation. And I don't know. I guess.
Praise the Lord, Dr. Hardiman.
Hey.
Praise him. You made my heart full. When you talking about reclaiming, our healing won't come forward until we reclaim our history, our heritage, our identities, all of us. Yes, I'm so happy you went back and reclaimed our ancestral roots, and then how you reclaimed our African American heritage as well, because that's all of who we are. And we've got to be made whole again. We've got to start the healing process with healing our identities. I think that is the key to our own health and well-being as we move forward with all of this turmoil. At the root of what we need to be is healed. We know that we're responding to the ills that have happened to us in the past, but our healing comes from our reclaiming of our soul and our lives and who we are. Most of that comes from things that was taken and stolen and stripped. But when we can restore like this, oh my God, my heart is full, Dr. Hardiman. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Ashe, ashe, ashe.
You're muted.
Yes, the host muted me. Okay, Annie, you're quick on the trigger. Okay, so we have thank you for sharing with us from Jacob Longmire, Dr. Hardeman, Ashe. Just a lot of thank yous from Jennifer, Jen Drake. You are a joy. You bring us joy. Thank you, Dr. J. Thank you, Dr. J. Joy, I learn so much from you every time I hear you speak. I am so honored to be here. Thank you for sharing your experience. Thank you, Dr. Hardeman. Thank you for sharing with us. Thank you for sharing, Dr. J. Thank you for reminding us about spiritual selves. Okay. Okay, Bill.
Meryl, can I jump in for a sec?
Yes.
Hi, I just want to say special thanks to Dr. Joy Hardeman, who has been the example of Black brilliance and of joy and the liberating power of education. I love the way you speak about the liberating arts and the ways in which your sort of creative expression and commitment to your roots and to recovering the things that have been denied us, that have been denied people of color, that have been denied African Americans, and how empowering it is to recover those. And you've done that for Evergreen, you've done that for Evergreen Tacoma and Evergreen Olympia, and I just want to appreciate you and your power and your love that you spread through your work.
Anybody else would like to say something to Dr. J? There's so many comments in the saying thank you, my eternal appreciation for the work you do and the person that you are. Thank you for your community building presence, Dr. Joy. Thank you. I love Indigestible. We are so lucky to spend time with you. I'm reminded of Audre Lorde, when I dare to be powerful, I use my strength in the service of my vision. Then it becomes less and less important whether I'm afraid. You always have embodied this for me and so many others.
Thank you. I just want to say one thing before I'm closing. Thank you very much, all of you, for your kind comments, and hopefully I'll be able to see them in some form. But I just want to say one thing. You know, I always tell the story about the little sparrow and how the little sparrow was sitting on the ground and it was pushing its arms up to the pushing his arms up, and an elephant goes by. And the elephant is like racism and pandemicism and all those things, and says, "Little tiny insignificant person, sparrow, you know, what are you doing?" And the sparrow says, I'm holding up the sky. And the elephant says, "You can't hold up the sky." And the little sparrow says, "I'm doing my part. I'm doing my part." So I just really want to urge people to do their part in transforming this world that we're living in, and just step by step. So I want to put in a little plug about what I'm doing. If you want further kind of reinforcements or affirmation, during the pandemic, I started a YouTube channel, you know, and I have a YouTube channel, and it's called Ancestral Artworks. And what I do is I do virtual tours of my house. And the objects that are in my house, and how those objects reinforce me and my spirit, and how those objects reconnect with my culture, and I think they're pretty good. So please tune in to on the YouTube Ancestral Artworks. And you can see my series called Let the Ancestors Speak. And I urge all of you, that's another thing, hold up the sky and listen to your ancestors. Just one time today or tomorrow, just walk by and just say, "Hey, anybody got anything to say to me?" You know, around a tree or something or other. And because we need that balance. We need that balance. We need to, in this happening in this world, we need to balance it with spiritual peace and spiritual hearing. Spiritual hearing. Yeah, that's what I want to say.
All right. PSA number 2. right, Georgina Holland Posey is graduating this year, 2020, and we're going to take a look at her new music video.
Yeah. Now that I know better. Now that I know better. Now that I know better. I grow better cause I do better. Knew nothing about the essence that came with the choice of efforts for cheddar. Fueled by money, power, and pleasure. Had me destined for lesser than I deserve, was the words I intercept from my shepherd. So I stopped wanting, stop hunting. I start counting my blessings. Start changing my direction when it comes to my endeavors. Foot on the devil's neck with predictions of regrets. If I ever let up, he's alive. That's the reason why when he get to speaking, I tell him shut up. Ain't going back into sin. I was born into this innocent. You had the upper hand from the get up. What's interesting to separate the weeds from the weeds is the reason for the setup. That's why I fessed up from my mess ups, and the outcome got me way too blessed to be stressed up. Do what I can and leave the rest up. Yup.
Waiting on my breakthrough, so I keep praying till something breaks through. Hurting in so many ways, it's hard for me to face you. The struggle is real. I can't help how I feel. Yeah. As I continue to kneel, refuse to stop believing. Right now, this is my season. The drought is slowly leaving. It's starting to rain. I'm no longer the same. 'Cause no human should ever have to bow down to perspectives that only lead to tears. This time I'm living without fear. 'Cause I fess up for my mess ups, and the outcome keeps me blessed up. Now that I know better, I do what I can and leave the rest out.
Now that I know better, I can do better. Now that I know, I can do better. Now that I know better, I can do better. Now that I know, now that I know better, I can do better. Now that
I speak love, peace, and happiness. I decree I'm gonna pass all these tests. My future is surely blessed. I have every reason to reach for the best. He's ordained me to be royalty, born into the royal family. Because of him, love's the reality. I put my trust into the process. That's why I fess up for my mess ups, and the outcome keeps me blessed up. Now that I know better, I do what I can and leave the rest out. That's why I fess up for my mess ups, and the outcome keeps me blessed up. Now that I know better, do what I can and leave the rest out. No human should ever have to bow down to perspectives that only fulfill. It's time to live our lives and be of good cheer. No.
Now that I know better, I can do better. Now that I know, I can do better. Now that I know better, I can do better. Now that I know, now that I know better, I can do better. Now that I know.
That was from Georgina Holland Posey, graduating this year, 2020, from the Tacoma program. Next up is going to be a showing from Nia Arunga. Nia Arunga is a 2013 graduate from the Olympia campus. Her project, Music Never Sleeps, is a docuseries by a group of artists of African descent, including her brother, Owor, living in the United States as they travel to Kenya, East Africa to produce music, fashion, and live stage performances. So I'm going to turn it over to Tech to get started with Music Never Sleeps.
This whole shot was like about the girls hitting up each other and being like, let's go to the market. Luckily, Kanja was available. I was working. It was, you know, a really busy day. But the African market, Kenyatta Market is the market they went to, is like all about the hustle. When you go to the market, you see like 5 women working on one head just so they could get that chick out of that seat and get the next one in and like maximize the efficiency and how many heads they can do in that day. And then you might have somebody walking by selling water or soda or nuts, or like right around the corner you could get your earrings. So when you go to the club, like your earring game is on point. Right around the corner, you could go to a fundi and get your outfit made, which So actually did. She went to a fundi in Kenyatta Market the same day, and she kind of got her sketches done.
We'll do the cuffs, the collar, the little button-down part in the front, like right here. And then right at the bottom, I want to do the same trim and then hit it right at, so just do the trim at the bottom too. And if you just fix the sides on that top, that would be lovely.
A fundi is basically a tailor. So a fundi is somebody who makes things. So there's fundis who build houses. There's fundis who make clothes. There's fundis who fix shoes. So fundi is part of this whole Kenyan culture. People who create solutions. People who you could go to at a good price.
I don't understand why I'm paying that much.
Because the braid is 350.
Okay.
The repair is.
So repair is 800 and the thing is 350. So how much do I owe you now? See? Your math confused yourself, eh?
Okay.
Because I love you. But only because I love you.
Because you love me. Okay, thank you. Thank you for loving me.
Like you're helping each other, you're trading, you're negotiating, you're finding like a good price, and then you come to that agreement. But that's a cornerstone of African culture, the hustle, the bustle of the market. And Kenyatta Market was like a really fruitful day for the girls to get their hair done, for the girls to get like their clothes made, to get jewelry, and really just like enjoy, you know, looking good and being fly.
I've been looking kind of swole. I guess it's the food out here. You feel me? I've been working out.
You haven't worked out at all. I don't believe you.
I haven't.
The lies.
You never done workout. You talking about?
Before embarking on this journey we call Music Never Sleeps, I was on top of the world. I was traveling the world. I was living the dream. But I realized that I was depressed. You know, my grandmother was dying. And life was just really hard. I wasn't really thankful for what I had. At some point I realized that I had to reconnect with who I am, with my inner child, with the magic. And at that point I decided I was gonna come back to Africa. And in Africa I started to feel like I was reconnecting with my people, I was reconnecting with my culture, I was reconnecting as a human being, and I was reconnecting with my purpose. And what I realized at the end of this journey is that passion is major. It's about doing what you love and loving what you do. Really, at the end of the day, a setback is nothing but a setup for a comeback. Never forget to live life and experience life to its fullest and express who you are and express yourself to the fullest. That's what Music Never Sleeps is about.
Working with Blinky Bill was such an incredible experience. You know, like Blinky hit me up and he was like, let's work. I showed up to the studio because I told him, like, I don't work before midnight because that's when all the magic happens. I think we might have hooked up at around 4 o'clock in the morning. And that's really like the definition of music never sleeping, like doing these late night sessions where everybody's like really working together and vibing. He played me the song a couple times, scattered some ideas back and forth, and then I just started rocking on the trumpet, and it was like, oh, that's it.
Like when this thing is mixed proper,
yeah,
it's gonna be killer.
That shit's gonna, you know what? The chicks are gonna
love it.
Yeah. This is a time in the Kenyan music scene where like we just didn't care who was watching. We just did what we wanted to. We expressed ourselves and our true nature, I think, effortlessly.
Whatever hornline we get, like in terms of how big the way they stack them.
Yeah.
So feel free.
Yeah, I got you.
Well, I was just messing around with this.
Yeah.
But I love the sound of those synths.
Yeah.
It's so simple.
Yeah.
It's so like it's super simple.
I share my best with you. I show you a world that you maybe never knew. And you and me together, we look like the stars in the sky. It's making us forever, yeah. Cause you know that I love you so. You know that I love you, share my best with you. I show you a world that you maybe never knew. And you and me together, we look like the stars in the sky. It's making us forever, yeah. But you know that I love you so. You know that I love you, yeah. You know that I love you so. You know that I love you,
There's a level of sophistication that it brings.
Yeah.
That I like. So I don't know how if either we combine the two ideas or you just
let's put them all down.
Yeah.
First sit, then you tell me what to do. Alright. You tell me what you can do for it. Yeah? Because maybe you can see something that will take off an idea.
I don't mind this, guys. Because we have so many female-centered moments.
It's true. And when we're doing that, oh my God, Becky, look at her back, then
it will be guys that we need to be doing the looking.
Right. Database and Soul decided to go scouting, and like they needed dancers, they needed a couple of things. And Database took it upon herself to like really be proactive, direct her own videos, get her own dancers, like come up with her own budget.
5, 6, 7, 8.
Bravo. We're thinking about developing solos so that there's individual shots of each dancer design.
And then, the only thing I want to say is, so like, when people watch the dances, people try and do the dances that they are watching. I want you to find something that you can repeat that will be simple enough that everybody who's watching can learn that dance.
Come up with something that a 3-year-old can do and a very limber 100-year-old can do.
Very
limber. Yeah, just from these guys to come up with something.
Yeah, so something is really for it.
She actually took it upon herself to see it through to the end. And I really love that. I think that was like one of the most beautiful things for me, to see the maturity and the growth as an artist who kind of like self-produce. Just be motivated to do it and to get it done, to really want it, because that's a major part of this art form, is like you have to want it.
Let's talk about clothes really quickly. First of all, what's the most comfortable for you all to move in? Are we thinking sweatpants, tank top moments?
For a dancer, unless you have anything in mind.
I want you all to look like sex symbols.
Yeah, sex
I want
symbols.
you all to look like every girl, yeah. See, all that. Don't get cocky though.
Don't be cocky.
Because the video is very female-centered in terms of the extra things that we're doing. I'd like to see the men be because the women are beautiful, and the men that you have put together are very handsome. I want it to be very sexy.
A-Town. He's the king.
I know we all kwa hapa hivi.
Okto namba 8, sema mambo vipi? Ni poa. Yeah, what's good with you, man?
I'm chilling. Just working on my album. It's coming out next month. So
Yeah.
just up and down.
Oh, album, bro?
Yeah.
That's some gangster shit. I gotta do a remix. You throw me a remix, bro.
I have to.
Aya, uko kwa speaker. So itakuwaje, when are we meeting the two of you guys inside the studio?
We can meet anytime from next week Wednesday. We can arrange.
Next week Wednesday.
Hey, man, I'm doing Coke Studio next week. I'm gonna be heavy in the mix.
Okay.
Yeah, but how's the week after that sounding? You're gonna be busy because you're releasing.
We can arrange a day. I don't think it's an issue. I'll check my schedule for next week and the next week after. And then we just put a day down and we meet.
Let's get it, bro. That's what's up, man.
Yeah.
I appreciate that, man. I can't wait to make some history, man.
Yeah. I can't wait either. I can't wait.
I'll explain to you what I have as a basic rubric of what's there to give you an idea, and then you can tell me, I think if I did it, just like the whatchamacallit.
Right, yeah, the whatchamacallit.
You got to give my heart to me. Nothing like your shadow. I gotta love me all the
process of mashing songs up is interesting, particularly when you're doing it for broadcast television and a show like Coke. You want to allow each artist to shine. So you don't want to, have one artist dominate the other. You want to have like a balanced vibe happening. You want to pick a song that both artists have the same content. So if the topic is love, you want it to be meshing together, or it might be hate and love, but it has to go together in a theme that makes sense. You have to think about tempo. Okay, is one song way faster than the other? And maybe it might work as a screwed down version, maybe it might not. You have to think about key, like are you forcing one singer to drop down in key while forcing another singer to go up in key? And what keys are they comfortable? What's their range? You have to know how to transpose, you have to know how to transcribe, you have to know how to cater to people who have to learn in different ways from either hearing or listening. It's a lot of logistics or a lot of just understanding music. It takes a lot of knowledge to kind of put this whole thing together live.
I'ma save that as draft 3.
Working with Hernani de Silva and Aphrodisia was such an amazing experience. I would say that the reason I love Hernani, who's from Mozambique, and Dija, who's from Nigeria, is that they spent extra time outside of the set to work on music. And we hung out at the hotel and we kicked it together and listened to music, and we really had a chill session. It was more than just, the regular business, let's go get a check thing. It was really cool to kind of be, grabbing dinner together and going and having drinks or doing that type of thing. Even though Dija doesn't drink, we kind of had a chemistry going on that was special and different. It was really cool, just kind of working with people who you vibe with on that level. The song that we were working on was Yaro and Washap. Yaro is a love song. Washap is also a love song, and I thought those two would go together well because of the topic, again, being able to speak on love from a communication standpoint and speak on love from a infatuation standpoint, and put those things together, I think was introspective, kind of it might have felt like a bilingual Drake song. It felt really good working with two artists from in the diaspora that were so well respected and revered, and I really appreciated that opportunity.
Língua fora. Língua fora. Tu WhatsApp agora, baby, baby, não demora.
Everybody ready? Ready. Horns watch Rabbi, he knows what the fuck he's doing. He'll give you your cues. I gotta delegate now.
Tô sempre com ela, via céu. I love you, LOL, coraçãozinho, língua fora. Tu WhatsApp agora, baby, baby, não demora.
My name Nadisha, I dey sing it for my baby. One night yaro, I dey love you like crazy. My name Nadisha, I dey sing it for my baby. One night yaro, I dey love you like ahaye yaro, ahaye ba yaro ba, ahaye yaro, ahaye ba yaro ba.
Dia awesome, como tu, durante o dia estamos busy, não há muito tempo, girl. Escolhe a cena, tô atento, o céu é só escreveres, girl. Se tiveres boring, não há motivo pra sofreres, girl. Farei de companhia virtual, caso uma vez, girl. Dar a tua voz, teu falar é soft, por isso ligo sempre que posso pra ouvir um coche. Mas quando declamas também anima, somos os dois tontos. Abrir parênteses, 2 pontos.
It is your love is all I need. Yes, no one can compare to how you make me feel. I place no one above. Love me, show me you love me, baby. You tip in my heart, oh. Bust my brain, smooth criminal. I just love you. I know the bottle. Shake your banza. I go love you, say.
Okay, girl, you're my queen. E já notei que o teu status é uma message pra mim. Gosto porque não escondes que me amas, maninho. És a minha baby borboleta, sou dama do bling.
It's so yes you do. It is fitting me, welly, yo. Way, yo. Do you I beg no level? This love is crazy. I can't deny
até tua mãe já disse que estás viciada demais. E meus amigos estão like play, eu sei antissocial. Mas eu não ligo pra eles porque tu és especial.
And I'd like to call on Awar Arunga as well, who I believe is within.
Hey, can you guys
There he
hear
is.
me?
There he is. And I just want to also take a moment, to introduce myself. Hi, everyone. My name is Mia Arunga. I am just one part of the whole that makes up Music Never Sleeps. We had a whole crew, all family, who decided to embark on this journey of music, music, stage performance, fashion, just a group of young artists, Black artists out of the Pacific Northwest who packed up one day and decided to head over to Kenya and collaborate, with local artists and make music, make art. So that is how this kind of came about. I definitely want to acknowledge Ebony Arunga, who I believe I also saw in the chats, Kwame Moro, I believe I also saw in the chats, Soma Ayers Hardiman, Geneva Arunga, and the many more.
Naomi Wamboe,
Naomi Wamboe.
Angela Muriuri.
Yes. Yes. All of them. I just to quickly introduce myself, I am an Evergreen alum, class of 2013. Go Gooey Ducks. But I'd also like to acknowledge the Evergreen Tacoma campus, which I think everyone in actually this collective that left the Pacific Northwest and to embark on this project actually has roots that they can connect to on the Tacoma campus as well. That literally we were all kind of raised on the Tacoma campus as well. And I just want to be sure to acknowledge that. I remember taking girls math and science at the college with Dr. LaVersa Sullivan, and learning with my peers early in the morning, and in the evening going and helping teach editing to her college class in the evening. So definitely grew up on the Evergreen Tacoma campus. The Evergreen Olympia campus is where I went to college.
Miss Gilda Shepherd as well was a major part of that video and technological aspect.
100%. Actually was my mentor in this film game. My first mentor in this film game, Miss LaVersa, was very intentional about putting us together because she noticed that I was really taking an interest and passion into film. So yes, definitely to acknowledge that. And I just want to, Dr. Hardiman, Maxine Mims, we literally grew up on the Tacoma campus. Moving into my college years on the Evergreen Olympia campus, one thing I definitely want to make sure I pass on to everyone before I kind of let Owar come in and introduce himself and kind of also continue to speak on this project is that something that is very important to me that I took from my education at Evergreen was I spent my entire college career, one of my number one goal was to study abroad. And I applied to many different programs, many different study abroad programs, and was never actually made it accepted into any particular program. And I never understood why. I think I definitely, I always had a great application. I definitely was hungry to widen my global lens and was very clear and intentional about that in everything I did in my college career. But some reason I never quite got accepted to any particular program. And one thing that Evergreen taught me was that if you don't fit in it, you create your own program. So I actually in my final year at Evergreen, I wrote a contract creating my own study abroad program, where I then went to Egypt for 6 months and had an incredible experience. But just that kind of idea of writing your own contract, writing your own curriculum, writing your own destiny. I definitely credit Evergreen for instilling that in me. And I think that had a lot to do with how I continued to move past once I left Evergreen. And I think that also was a huge contributing factor to how I moved when working with this Music Never Sleeps project. And I think, and beyond, even when we're looking at today's times when things are just going on in these protests and people are calling for justice and for recognition of Black lives. I think that's another thing that I take with me, is the understanding that it is important that we write our own contracts. We write our own destiny, what we need, what we demand, what we must see done, the change that we want to see. And I continue to always kind of go back to those fundamental things that I learned in my entire upbringing in the Evergreen experience. Or please also introduce yourself and speak.
Hello, everybody. I want to thank my sister for, and all of my sisters, and God sisters and other village sisters. And today, I just want to, I'm very thankful for you guys. And I'm very thankful because of the way we work together and the way we're able to produce such work. And that really means a lot to me, that we're able to integrate our talents and integrate our passion. Today is my daughter's last day of school. And I wanted to say, as we were doing schoolwork today, I thought of all the women who've taught me and who've given me knowledge. I'd like to say that my grandmother would always tell me that we are the people who thought they were chickens when they were really eagles, the eagles that thought they were chickens. And she told me that, in our lifetimes, we can walk around with a lack of understanding for who we are, and who we really are eagles, right? And I just wanted to say that because Dr. Joy Hardiman, of whom has taught me so much, spoke about truth. And I'd like to thank her for all the lessons that she's given me, as well as Dr. Maxine Mims and Dr. Marcia Tatarunga and Gilda Shepherd, whom taught us how to make our first films when we were children, and introduced us to this, along with our mentor, LaVersa Sullivan, the late LaVersa Sullivan, who made sure that but these women served as models for learning, models for expansion, and models for consciousness, and models for the golden standard for what a true empress is, and people who have perseverance and who have graduated from thinking only intellectually, but being able to have spiritual insights. And this is all part of that journey. And hopefully I can pass that on to my daughters, that they may be as enlightening to their children. And this is just basically for me to say thanks to them. And I will continue to listen to you, and I will continue to be open and to receive your teachings. And I just want to give gratitude.
Ashe. I do also want to acknowledge, just before we go, the importance of, along with writing your own destiny, telling your own story. I think that something that is really powerful about this Music Never Sleeps experience and project was the idea of kind of changing the common narrative of Africa, and Black young people, Black people, in America, and kind of collaborating as Africans and Africans in the diaspora, and showing just beautiful art and collaboration and landscape and just everything that we were able to the different kind of story we were able to tell with Music Never Sleeps, I think was pivotal and very intentional. I also want to take a quick moment to acknowledge my mother, Dr. Marcia Tater Runga, as we are naming all of these important women educators in our life. My first and forever mentor, educator, teacher, mother, all of that. Thank you for just being you.
Yeah, Shay.
Shay.
Yeah, I'd like to also say that this is about a bridge, and Dr. Miss LaVersa Sullivan, our mentor, would always tell us about the lifelong learning model. And in the lifelong learning model, you start with discovery and you end with sharing. And she would always tell us, along with Gilda Shepherd, each one teach one, another one reach one. And that is truly when you have reached a point in your process that you have learned something, when you can share it with another person. And this is about that process, the lifelong learning model. And we want to share with you and use this as a bridge for us to understand that there's so much abundance in Africa, and there's so much abundance in the African diaspora, culturally, in terms of human resources and the value of our creativity and our spirit and our truth. And our truth is that Black is beautiful.
Ashe.
And that is what we want to show to you all, and that's what we want to share with you all. And we want to build a bridge for the rest of our brothers, our sisters, our mothers, our aunts. We want to build a bridge so that we understand better how to get back and what to do when we get there, and how to make investments and how to buy property and how to have a good time on a Saturday night. And that's what we're here for, is to build a bridge in the diaspora between people of African descent. And Darwin has proved that with the finding of Lucy, we're all African. So let's all find our unity in Africa. Yeah. Build that bridge.
Ashe.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you very much to the Arungas for that. And we're time for our last public service announcement. So the last video that we're going to show is Brian Davis to show his video of him interpreting the Lift Every Voice song.
Hello, everyone. Firstly, I'd like to thank Ray Mobley and Charles Forbes for inviting me to perform for you all on this great day of celebration, and to you all for being here. I am very grateful and incredibly honored. I'll be performing in a mass today, and the reason for that is, while we're seeing massive action being taken around the country in the name of justice, I find it imperative to remember that we are all trying to be as safe as possible, not only for our own health, but for the health of those that we keep close to us. Thank you. Now I will be playing Lift Every Voice and Sing in the key of G. Happy Juneteenth, everyone.
We are ready to get to our closing, and we're going to invite Dr. Marsha Tate Arunga, Dean of the Tacoma program, to close our program.
Thank you, Carl. And good afternoon, everyone. I hope you've enjoyed this incredible program. I myself am so full. You know, I think what's most important in this message today is that our history does not begin in the cotton patches of Mississippi. Indeed, our history is vast and goes beyond the borders of the United States of America. And I see that as we begin to do this work, we are finding our way back home in the continents and in our hearts. I also want to just give a shout out to the fact that until, Ella Baker, I saw Ella Baker, I saw Fannie Lou Hamer today in this program. And the other day, Dr. Shepard chose a song that was sung by Sweet Honey in the Rock, the quoting words of Ella Baker. And she said, "Until the killing of a Black boy, a Black mother's son, is as important as the killing of a white boy, a white mother's son, we cannot rest." So we are looking to always find ways and strategies of liberation, of freedom. Evergreen State College, Tacoma campus, I just want to honor Dr. Maxine Mims. We stand on the shoulders of her genius. What wonderful thinking that she would take such an important pedagogy that she found deep in the woods of Olympia, Washington, bring it into the urban hub of the hilltop of Tacoma, dust it off, bring that energy, that vibe that only Black women can bring to the intellectual mix, and create an institution that is so unique and still thriving beyond measure. I am so indebted to Dr. Maxine Mims. And I've also heard the name of the late Dr. LaVersa Sullivan mentioned, who really established our technical program at Evergreen State College, Tacoma. Now we see the fruits of her labor coming out in this generation. And I'm so, so grateful for my family who was able to present themselves to you today. I've been thinking of when is the possible time that I might be able to introduce you to the genius that is my family. And I am so grateful that Juneteenth led way to this opportunity. And I want to thank all of them. Stay on the road, because this is the road that we are on to liberation. This is the road that was established by Dr. Maxine Mims. And in our campus, we celebrate Black lives, we celebrate Black genius, we celebrate the Black experience. We bring it into our space so that we can understand it better, because we have two goals right now in this historic moment. One of them is to undo institutionalized and structural racism, to dismantle it and to let it no longer be a part of the fiber of this country. But there's another role we have, and that is to undo internalized oppression that has been caused by generations of ill treatment for years and years. We're talking 400 years of layers of oppression that has to be undone. I believe that Dr. Mims set up that laboratory that we call the Evergreen State College Tacoma campus so that we can explore how to undo that kind of oppression. And right now we're all busy and we have a mission to do. So what a beautiful program, what a beautiful day, what an opportunity to think about freedom. As Martin Luther King said, thinking about freedom. I also want to thank IESS and in particular, Therese Saliba. And Therese, if you're with us, I'd love to just invite you to show your face. I want to thank you for convening this group. And what a pleasure it has been to work with all of the members of this particular group. Therese,
Is there a word you would like to say on behalf of IESS?
Thank you so much, Dr. Arunga. The whole program, the power of your words. I feel like many of us, I feel the uplift and the power of the arts and the liberatory power of music, of story, of everything that was shared today. And that was such a supreme gift to us as a community, those of us who stand in solidarity with our Black colleagues. And students and staff, and what talent you've shared with us both. And it's been a partnership from the Olympia campus and the Tacoma campus. And I thank everyone who was involved in the planning. It's been a true inspiration. And I just want to say that I know people want to talk and share dialogue, and some of the references to gifts of abundance, to reconnection. You helped us do all of that. And the idea that Nia shared, that Evergreen is a space where we can explore and create and reconnect and build community, that really is about affirming our connections, affirming life, affirming our roots. Thank you for this gift today.
Oh, beautiful. Thank you. And it was our pleasure and our honor that you are in the Tacoma Lyceum, MEMS Hardeman Lyceum Hall as we are gathered in that Zoom room. And I just am so honored that you have chosen our Lyceum Zoom this time to host this presentation. It makes us at Tacoma feel even much more included. And this is a shout out to Dr. Anthony Zaragoza, who spent a lot of time working to make sure that our technology was strong this quarter, and also to our wonderful tech team. And that is, James Trey Applegate and Annie Applegate. Just thank you so much for making it possible. You have shown that Zoom can be a very high quality production. I am so proud that you were a part of this production. Thank you so much. I also want to just end here by saying, if you notice, there were public service announcements, and this is a very vital part of this movement of Juneteenth. It's a vital part of Juneteenth. It's a vital part of the interest we have in supporting Black businesses. Do you know that less than 4% of the population who are not African American actually do business with Black people? So I want this to be a turnaround. We must find ways to support Black businesses. If we do not, then we cannot say we are contributing to the economic development. And it is through economic strengthening of our Black community that we will be able to be contenders in this United States very capitalistic society. So when you have a chance, please support Black businesses. When you have a chance, please support Black geniuses. And when you have a chance, please support and honor, cherish Black lives. Oh my goodness, even I am full by this genius, by this brilliance. What energy! This is the energy that makes change. This is the energy that we need to move forward. And we don't move forward apologetically. We move forward boldly, the way we know, because we are the leaders. We are the ones who will tell everyone else how it should be done. And it should be done by listening to our ancestors, as Dr. Hardeman has said. Let the ancestors speak and guide us. We know what is right. We know that we have to be guided by that righteousness, because these are times call for that. These are the times that are delicate. These are the times that our ancestors told us about. And now that we are here, we call on even our allies, Let me tell you, Don Mason, our former state legislator, says that we don't need allies. What we need are abolitionists. I think we need both. But an abolitionist is one who doesn't just sit on the fence and says, oh yeah, I like what you're doing. That's cute, but I can't really put in an investment. The abolitionist is out there ready to dismantle just as much as we are this corrupted racist system. We stand in it together. It must be dismantled, not by us, but by all of us. All of us band together and understand the power. This is why we are in school, to educate ourselves, to understand the analysis that is necessary to move forward. This is the time we have been waiting for. This is not a celebration. This is a commemoration. This is a call to action. Be kinder with each other. Be gentle. See the genius in each other. Uphold every Black person you see. Thank them, cherish them, and get the benefit, the gifts of that energy. And with that, we send you all to do good work, and thank you so much. Thanks to the ancestors. Be praised. Ashe, ashe.
Ashe, ashe.
Ashe, ashe.
Ashe, ashe.